This is the May 8th, 2024 regularly scheduled meeting of the Cohasset Affordable Housing Trust. We'll call the meeting to order with a roll call vote. Paul Grady, since you're the first one I see. Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, present.
Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson here.
Rob Henry.
Rob Henry here.
And Steve Gomer, present. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I by the looks of our agenda, although there's a few things on it, I'm not sure just how lengthy this could be. And in any case, I've got a hard stop at 10. So let's get rolling. Is there anybody in the audience, Cassandra, for public comment?
There is not, no.
Okay, we'll move right on to the steering committee update. Paul Kears is here with us. Hi, Paul.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
So for our committee, we've been focusing on primarily working with Habitat for Humanity to find out where they are and where the events for construction are. And they've started moving some dirt on the property, so people got excited, and it's going to be a little bit of time. I think they've had some ledge issues that they had to address and make some changes to plans, but they're pretty much moving forward with construction, and we anticipate that taking a good part of between now and say October before we actually see, some semblance of a structure. We primarily were focusing on volunteers, and when we start getting people to volunteer, and the way that Habitat works is that they don't schedule volunteers to do specific things at a specific period of time. What they do is, if you want to volunteer on a Tuesday, whatever they're doing that Tuesday is what you'll be doing. So there isn't one of these where, hey, I really want to put up the shutters, and they don't have a fine tuned schedule to when they know the shutters are going up. So it's pretty much they'll take volunteers, they schedule them in, and that's how they work. So right now they're doing their annual fundraiser gala in May here, and then after that we're going to get together with them to see how we want to approach the community. Once we start seeing the foundation poured and the framework go up, then that generally generates a lot of activity with volunteers at that point. So that's where we are there. As far as other properties go in the town, we have not heard from the property owner at 1 Pleasant Street. Just to give you an update, those were converted to condominiums, but they have not come in front of us, or they have not been back in front of sewer either. So we don't know what the plans are for the property yet. So at best we know, we'll get 4 units for that is where we are right now. The other project we had is we still have not heard back from South Main Street on the 3 units he had over there. Hoping you heard from him. I'd be surprised if you did, because he does generally go silent for a while. He was going to do rent the property out on his own at a lower rate, and then work with you on getting the rate or getting the property deeded, which would take a little bit longer. So we haven't heard from him, so I'm not sure where you stand on that. And then the 50, I want to say 55 South Main, I believe it is, the gas station. We understand that it's under technically new ownership, and we have not heard from anyone yet as to what they're doing on that property. And we had an inquiry about getting some property and moving it into the trust for the purpose of doing something with affordable housing. So we have some property that is owned by an individual that wants to combine it with some town property and have us look at converting that to housing. And we've had some people ask us about the Esposito property, which is CJC and Pond Street, which the town bought because they had an interest of perhaps putting in a police and fire station there. But they've decided not to do that, best I can tell. So the property is something that we'd like to discuss with the trust about having that transferred to the trust so that we could take a look at what can be done with the property, whether it's buildable and whether, if not, then maybe, we sell it to conservation so that we can get some cash into the trust, something to that effect.
Could, Paul, you could probably do this within your committee, but is it plausible for you to get a hold of John Hallen, go walk the site and get some preliminary views? Now I recognize that that's only the building commissioner. There's conservation questions as well, but it'd be useful to have an understanding before we went to the town, the Board of Selectmen in the town, talking about transfer, to gain an understanding of what the true value of that is. At one point, the town was absolutely certain that you could put a couple of structures on it because there was enough upland. And I think we paid the better part of $500,000 for that site.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So it would be helpful if we had an understanding of what was plausible to be put there. I say we in this case, meaning you and us.
Okay. And the one on Beechwood, I'll get the property owner together and kind of put together a plan and see if there's something we can do with the trust and that property and how we can help with the affordable housing aspect of it.
It would be probably helpful to understand the value of that property, to find out if there's been any recent wetlands delineation on the site. So then you'll have an idea of how much upland there really is.
Are you talking about Esposito's property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last understanding is that you could put some structures on there, but it is surrounded by wetland, is the last I've heard on it.
Right. That's why it would be useful to see if there has been any delineation of those wetlands. It's only good for 3 years if there has been one in the past, but it will give you some basic, idea of how much upland you have. And then you have to work out buffer zone, et cetera. But anyway.
Would that be on file already, Karis?
It might be. If the town acquired the property, it might have been part of the due diligence when the town acquired the property.
Yeah, the town acquired the property in, I think, 2016 or 17. As is typical, I think we were discussing it for the better part of 18 or 20 years, and then finally pulled the trigger in the last 14. So.
Again, just worth checking to see if there is one that's been done.
Okay.
Yeah, they, Habitat expressed a desire to do more housing in Cohasset like they're doing at 808 Jerusalem. That property would be ideal for them to put a couple of, if they could put one or two families there, that would be ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, though, I think that, I think what Karis is talking about and what's of interest, I think to both your committee and the trust is what's plausible. Doesn't mean we're not asking for, if you will, pre-approval on a permit application. on a piece of property that the trust doesn't own. But if it were clear that there were the capability to put buildings on there, and it's not just, I mean, we'd have to look at it from everything from wastewater to stormwater water permitting, et cetera. But if it was plausible, then I think it's absolutely worthwhile to pursue this with the town, because there is no, to the best of my knowledge, there is no other plan for it. That was originally considered to be a public safety site, and
Correct.
that's now, I think it's superfluous, given that you're less than a mile. Yeah, you're less than a mile away from the new public safety site. So anyway, yeah, I mean, if we can get some understanding of what's plausible there, I think it's absolutely worth pursuing jointly to ask the town or ask the board of selectmen to support a motion to the town to move the property for development.
Okay. We'll take a look at it.
All right.
And then, we're just waiting, to go through town meeting to see what the new, and any zoning laws, specific to the MBTA properties, area, what's going to be the result of all of that. As we are pushing hard to have, any affordable housing to be tied into, on site as opposed to having an option, to go off site. So we'll check with Tom Callahan on that to see where.
You just blanked out there for a second, the last part of your commentary.
Oh, I just want to check with Tom Callahan on, when the dust settles, what does that mean for affordable housing? Because I understood that the way that it is now is there's in that overlay district, they would go by the town bylaws, I believe. But I'm not sure if the MBTA law trumps the bylaws if they're not paired. So we were told that the percentage of housing that would be there, it would have to be deeded for affordable housing, may or may not be an accurate statement. So I just wanted to get clarification on them on that.
Okay.
MBTA housing limits affordable to 10%. If you want to do more than that, you have to get specific approval from the state.
Okay. So it's 10 a week. So the Cohasset bylaws, if they're 15 or 20, doesn't apply.
Nope. You'd have to get, again, you could get approval from the state for more, but to be MBTA compliant, it has to be no more than 10%.
Okay.
Offsite or on-site, I don't believe it specifies.
Well, that answers that.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't, if anyone has any questions of us, I don't, anything else that I'm aware of.
Anybody? No, thank you once again, Paul.
You're welcome.
I can check in with you after this meeting and just chat with you a little bit about the 3A site as well.
Okay. Yeah, there might, we might want to start looking at stuff over there. Once all of this stuff passes town meeting and we start to move forward.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, guys. The next item on the agenda is the Heather Drive bid status. You might recall that we have the parcel on Heather Drive. We had offers on it that were made on it. We were called off of accepting those offers because it was determined that they circumvented the 30B process. And so my last understanding was that it was being put back up for bid, but for some reason it didn't happen very quickly. And so I just, it occurred to me the other day as Cassandra was putting together the agenda and asking for edits, what the status was. So with that, Cassandra, I turn it back to you. What do we know about this status?
I'm actually going to pass it off to Michelle, who is here.
Sure. So we did put it back out to bid. We didn't receive any interest in the bid when it was put back out. We can certainly put it back out again as soon as next week and advertise it for 30 days. The market's hot. You may benefit now from the market. So if that's what we'd like to do, if there are any changes that need to be made, we should make them now. But if not, I can advertise it and have it out next week. And it has to run for 30 days.
Yep. No, I'm eager to hear what the trust members think about this. So anybody have any thoughts or questions? Floor is open.
I'll start. We say there were bids before and people put actual bids in and then we had to pull it off because of the 30B. Is that what we're saying?
No, Rob, that we had listed it with an agent because at the time we believed we could go ahead and do that in much more of a method by which you would traditionally consider selling real estate, right? But we have been advised that because we are a quasi-public entity, we in fact have to follow state procurement disbursement laws, which means that we have to go through a bid process. So during the first go round, we had 2 offers come forward, and one was a contingent offer. The other was a straight cash offer. But both of them had to be rejected simply because the process wasn't a public process. It wasn't deemed to be a public process. Public process is the one that's being described now, whereby we advertise requests for bids. We wait and see what happens. So that's
Well, my concern is if we had 2 people who were interested and then they got pulled off, would it make some sense to be a little more personal? And since you haven't had any other responses, but when this goes out, that we personally contact those people, because I'm sure they're saying, we're not going to go through this again and then get rejected, gets pulled back again. The town doesn't know what they're doing, or something like that, some perception like that they may have. I just wonder where it appears like it's not going to be easy necessarily to get a number of bids. Should we indeed contact these 2 people who had interest and make it a little more personalized than the way it was before?
I turn that over to you, Karis. I don't know the answer to that.
So the last time we put it out to bid, sorry, it's Michelle. The last time we put it out to bid, I did have the name of one person that was interested prior, and we sent it to them, and they no longer were interested, or didn't submit a bid. So we can try again, and if you have both names, I'm happy to send it out to them. There's no problem with that. You can send it to whomever you'd like. We can send it to all the abutters if you'd like, just so they know that it's out there. And they have the opportunity to bid on it as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have my thought on it is I have no issue. I mean, if I could send it to a townwide mailing, I would. But certainly the abutters, because it has arisen in the past that there was a lack of communication directly with the abutters. It's I mean, we could send it to the entire neighborhood. Anybody with beyond just the abutters, anybody with a Heather Drive address. So, but the long and short of it is, you all may recall that our goal here was not to build on this property, but rather to sell it. It really doesn't fit, from our perspective, it doesn't fit the ideal site for affordable housing because it's far away from town services. It's far away from public transportation. About the only redeeming factor that's there is that there is a sidewalk nearby. So our goal was to sell it as potentially a building lot if it could be remediated into a building lot. And as a result, it probably holds the best value for the trust as a cash producing item. So that's my, anybody,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Does Cohasset do Michelle, like a news e-letter that citizens can sign up for on your homepage? Because you could put a note about it in that as well, which gets you kind of close to Steve's all town mailing.
Sure. Yeah, we can also post it on the website with a link directing it right to the bid. So there are several things we can do, and I'm happy to do all of them so we can reach the broader audience.
Great.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't there a neighborhood group, Michelle, who was interested in that? I remember Heather Drive coming up. Wasn't there a neighborhood group that was interested in purchasing the property?
To the best of my yeah, Paul, to the best of my knowledge, there was one abutter interested in purchasing the property, and when the bid specs went out, they never responded to the bid. So we
Okay.
can try again and just cascade it everywhere, and hopefully we get a better response.
Yeah. There was a neighborhood group that they were very concerned about the potential for affordable housing being constructed in that area. And,
That's why.
yeah,
That-
and to but it was the interest in purchasing it really, I think, came down to one person who was a direct abutter, or one entity was a direct abutter, as opposed to the entire neighborhood. So.
Thanks.
Okay, any other commentary? Rob, I can see you're off mute, but we can't hear you. Can you, if you want, just dial in with your cell phone. Your microphone's not picking up. We'll hold the floor open for Rob while he's connecting. Cindy, Rob Henry, any comments?
No, I'm just, I remember we had that trouble with the neighbor there, so I think we did decide we're not going to try to make it affordable housing for whatever, so it would be great though to be able to sell it, but I just think the little personal attention, which apparently Michelle agrees with, and we're gonna do that, I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, agreed. I think I would hope that could be the case. Does anyone foresee the need to change any of the language within the request for bid? Apparently not. Okay. Michelle, do you recall, I know you may not have the bid with you at the moment, but do you recall whether or not we had a reserve or a minimum on that?
I just pulled it up. Let me take a peek.
Yeah, that was going to be my question on, like, can somebody bid $1 and get the property if nobody else bids?
So you have the right to reject any offer for any reason. So if you feel as though that the offer is not fair and equitable, then you can reject it and go back out to bid. The only challenge with that is that you do have to bid it for 30 days at a time. So every time you're setting yourself back 30 days. But at this point in time, there's no minimum on this. If you'd like to put a minimum, we can. I have the property record card up. And it shows that 25 Heather Drive, right now, the total value is assessed at about $415,000. I believe when you got bids last time, they were somewhere in the $100,000 range, if I'm not mistaken, when it was solicited by a real estate broker.
They came in at 250, but that's the one that it was 250 based upon permitting, successful permitting.
Okay.
Yeah. And that came in through the broker. The other offer from the abutter also came in through the broker. So All right.
And unfortunately, if you put a minimum on it, it's going to imply that we're not going to go with a full price, and we will go down to that minimum. So that's not necessarily a good marketing.
Yeah, no, I wanted to be sure that we understood the terms of the request for bid, because it's been a while. And I have no particular interest in putting out a reserve or putting out a minimum. I think you let the market tell you what it's worth based upon the what the land is and what anybody who buys it is going to have to put into it in order to use it to their needs. So, and since we have the opportunity to reject any offer for any reason, I think we're probably pretty well protected.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. I don't, unless one of the board believes that we need a vote on this for anything, since there are no changes in the bid, and we're simply, reestablishing the existing request for bid. Michelle, please put it out there and advertise it immediately.
Okay, so the way it works, so I'll advertise it in the Central Register today, which means it won't go live till next week. And then we'll list it for 30 days and I'll report back with any interest with a plan holders list as soon as I have one, and we'll go from there.
Okay, great.
And
All
just
right,
to
thank you.
affirm, sending the notice to the abutters, I think, is important as well.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, guys. All right, moving on. 808 Jerusalem Regulatory Agreement Update. Karis has got this one. So Karis, turn it over to you.
Yep, I've signed off on the revised regulatory agreement document that Noreen from South Shore Habitat had put together. Thank you, Noreen, for your incredible patience as it kept on getting pushed down in my pile. It will now go to EOHLC for final review and signature, and then it will come back to the town and South Shore Habitat to sign off on it. So making progress and can, move that along. And hopefully, Noreen, if they're taking a long time over there, let me know. I talk to Rayco pretty regularly and they're flipping things pretty quickly right now for some other clients. So hopefully we can get it taken care of.
Noreen, if you're responding, you're on mute.
I couldn't find my mouse. Yes, thank you. I did get that, so I'll get that over to them, and then we'll get it all signed, and usually I can take care of the recording once it happens.
Great.
Super.
If you guys need help with the recording, we can do that too.
Okay. So we can close the book on this one at the moment, on this item. Okay, great. Then so be it. Next item, 808 Jerusalem. Progress update now from South Shore Habitat for Humanity. And that is with Beth.
Yes. So right now we're still hammering to get the ledge out. We're scheduled to put the foundation in next week, and we'll be welcoming volunteers starting June 1st.
So when you welcome in volunteers, Beth, how would one go about that?
If you're a corporation, you would get in touch with probably me at this point. And then if you're an individual, you can go to our website and there are dates listed there that you could register to volunteer at.
Okay. Just as an aside, and it's personal because my company gets deeply involved in community projects, right? Everything from, food bank work to you name it. There is an office over in Norwell for the South Shore, and it seems to me that it'd be a good thing for you folks to contact to see if you could, grab some workforce volunteer time. And they're generally a whole bunch of young people with stronger bodies. So
Can you send?
it's Morgan Stanley is the name of it.
Morgan Stanley, okay.
Yep. And you'd probably want to look for the office administrator. I
Okay.
don't know the name for the Norwell office. I'm sorry, I'm in Boston. But like I said, I know there's a big focus for the company to log volunteer hours.
Great.
Okay.
I will reach out to them. Thank you.
And I'll look at the website too and see when I can get this tired old body to come in and at least supervise.
Well, we're going to be building for a while, so there'll be lots more.
As long as you can give me something that's not dangerous to do. All right. All right. I do notice, I don't know if anybody has seen the site work recently. They're proceeding, digging down into the ledge. And I think you guys are using a chipping process as opposed to blasting.
Yes, we're hammering it out, which should be done this week.
Yep.
We have notified all the neighbors that we are doing that because it's loud. And at this point, no one has come back to us and had any issues.
Honestly, there's been so much chipping in that neck of the woods over the last 3 years that I think people think it's just native birds now. That it's good to hear that you're reaching what you think is the end of the process. That's good news.
Yes.
Okay. And you had a second request logged here, as everybody can see, with respect to 43 Elm. So why don't you, if you don't mind, continue on.
Right. So one of the homeowners for 808 Jerusalem Road has come to us and is in difficult financial straits because her rent has increased significantly. And she's having a difficult time managing her finances and able to keep up with things. And Noreen and I have talked, and one of the thoughts we had, and we would like to propose to you to see if there's any possibility, is to ask if she could rent Elm Street, second floor of Elm Street, for a period of time until she can move into her home.
Well, one thing you should know is at the moment, Elm Street is not ready for occupation.
I am aware because I just got your next insurance policy.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. Apparently, there has been a delay in getting the kitchen completed, and that I believe probably falls on execution on our end more than anything else, meaning the trust end. We had taken on this as a project, and frankly, the ordering process for cabinetry, countertops, and a couple of appliances has been a whole lot longer than it should have been. I can't give you a date because I don't know the date. I'll ask Rob to speak more about what he knows about it, along with Cassandra. This should have been completed. The original estimation was that it would be completed by the end of February, and here we are, early in May. Yeah, frustrations are running high.
Well,
so
we're happy to help you if you need anything. So please.
I think where we needed help was actually getting the order in.
Okay.
Okay. The contractor we've had is, I think Rob can address that better, but I think he's been reliable and effective. But right now he's waiting on materials, and it wasn't the contractor's job to order it simply by the way that we arranged the work. And so, when would she be looking to occupy?
Well, we haven't even brought this to her attention because we didn't want to get her hopes up for anything. So we need to talk to her about when her lease ends and when she can get out of her lease, and she would be available. So I don't have an answer for you for that. I would have to talk to her.
Okay. Now,
I think though it'd be a difficult task because the thing that, and the frustration, as Steve has mentioned, is that the materials were not ordered because we want to get this finished and actually get it on the market. Because
Well,
so if we tell somebody to rent it and then we have a buyer for it, then that doesn't help that renter. So I'm not sure it's a very viable situation, given what our charter is, what we're trying to do.
You bring up a good point, but before we go there, I've got a just an even more basic question, and directed towards Karis. Karis, if we were in the position to rent this, and given that the unit itself has a deed restriction on it, would we be required to abide by all of the governing law with respect to putting a renter in there, or can we just do what we want?
I'd have to take a look at the deed restriction and determine whether or not it is required to be sold or you can rent it or not. I don't recall from looking at it, so I would need to take a look and actually I'll grab it right now and see if I can take a quick look.
Before you go.
Yep.
Before you go, assuming that that there's nothing that prevents us from renting the unit. All right. That because it has a deed restriction. In other words, we bought an affordable unit, right? If we were to turn around and rent it out, would we then have to abide by the rent guidelines governing affordable housing?
Yes, absolutely.
So where I'm going with that is we can't direct a renter. In other words, we can't say we're going to rent it to Jane Doe.
Right.
Do we have to publish it and go through a lottery?
Correct. You would most likely have to go through the lottery process. Exactly right.
All right. So Beth, I think that probably
It does, yeah.
stops it right in the tracks. But having said that, and Cassandra, I'll ask you about this. On South Main, was it 171? Is that the right address? 171?
Are you referencing 147?
147,
Mr.
thank you. Yeah, Mr. Shivo's unit. Now, he needed to rent that out, and he was asking us for some latitude. He needs to rent it out. His intent was to rent it out at sub-market rates, but to show cash flow so that he could convert a building mortgage into a permanent mortgage. And so the question I have is, would he be a likely candidate, or would that be a likely candidate for best resident?
I think it's a good possibility. I don't know if, what this applicant's timeline is for getting out of her lease, and if that lines up with when he will have the unit ready for move-in, but it's certainly an option to be explored.
So Beth, I would ask that you connect with Cassandra. Cassandra can put the two together. The owner of 174 South Main, which is a new construction, 3-unit building. And my guess is that he would have an awful lot more flexibility available to your resident. And it's not that we're trying to be sticklers, but the last thing that you want that resident to do is make plans only to come back and find out, they're not. It's not a sure thing. She's got to go through a lottery.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Cindy, you had your hand up.
That was my question about if it goes to rental, would it be through the lottery? So you answered that, but I think that's brilliant to talk to Mr. Shivo, because we talked with him and worked out a program that he agreed, obviously, to rent it at below market rates in good faith keeping with what we're trying to do with the property. And because it's going to take 9 or 18 months more for him to get through the regulatory process to actually put those apartments out to bid as well. So that seems like a win for everybody.
It does.
I mean, he needs a renter in there in order to get out of his construction loan and into a longer term mortgage too.
Right.
Right. Well, Noreen and I'll have a talk with our family partner and see what her timeline is. And then we can have chat with Cassandra.
Great. I'm sorry we couldn't be directly helpful to you, but maybe.
So it makes
summary.
complete sense. I missed the whole rental lottery thing. We thought we'd keep your place maybe busy until you got the sale lottery going, but I forgot that it would require a lottery.
We'd like to do it too, and frankly, I'm not against breaking rules, but I am against going to prison, so.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and Cassandra will be in touch.
Thank you
Thank
both.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Which brings us to our surprise package of the day. Cassandra, do
Just
you
so
have-
you know, sorry, the deed of trust says that you cannot, you can't lease the, you can't lease that unit anyway, so, sorry.
Okay. Okay. We're on to 43 Elm Street with an update, and Cassandra, do you have any information back from facilities as to whether or not they've placed this order?
So I spoke with Michelle and our facilities director this morning. They are planning to place the order today for the cabinets and the countertop.
Michelle, can we have frittered around, we meaning the trust has frittered around with this order for more than a month and a half. I wish I could tell you that I had personal knowledge of what delayed it. I don't. Outside of the financial items which were resolved some time ago, I frankly think that one of our members may have dropped the ball and not passed the assignment off so that one of the other trust members could have completed it. Could you help us, please, in assuring us that this is ordered and expedited as rapidly as possible?
Sure. So I'm going to actually place the order myself this morning online with our representative from Home Depot.
Mhm.
I can't give you any assurances until the order is placed. I don't know. I haven't seen the total order yet. I'm assuming all these items are in stock and ready to go, but I don't know that until we actually place the order.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm not asking for on behalf of the trust. I'm not asking for your assurances on delivery, but rather just making sure the order gets placed.
We will get that done today.
Okay. This has been, a frustrating experience. I talked with Cassandra last Thursday by phone about this, and so from Thursday to today to today, nothing's happened, and that's extraordinarily frustrating because from our standpoint, every day that passes is a unit that's not on the market, right? And further, it affects our cash flow.
Right.
We've had to re-up insurance now for 3 different periods for construction, 2 of them which probably were unnecessary, and that's approaching $3,000 or $4,000. We've got the HOA fees, which have now accumulated to another 1,000 plus utilities plus. And these costs are adding up for no reason. We're not making, they're not costs we're incurring for progress. So we appreciate your assistance, and if you don't mind communicating back, I mean, you can do it through Cassandra, who in turn can blast it out to all of us and just let us know what the time frame looks like.
Sure. So I'll get that done this morning and you'll have an update this afternoon.
All right, much appreciated.
Yeah, and if you send this out, but I will follow up with the Home Depot, if you give me the purchase order number and all of that, because this actually goes back to last summer. That's how long we've been fooling around with this thing. So just so you know why we have such a sense of urgency. So we do appreciate the fact that you are stepping in to do this.
Yeah, thank you again.
Sure.
Okay. Last items on the agenda are all administrative. I'm going to take these out of order because there are things in here which I think are should be addressed immediately, and those are financial. specifically the HOA invoice, which also includes the insurance bill that I just referenced, the National Grid bill as well. And then we can move on to, and then the minutes invoice. I'm sorry, I missed out on that one. All right, so has everybody had a chance to review these bills? Okay.
Yes.
So, like, as I said, National Grid is in here for a total of $115. Big deal, but it just adds up. It's $115. What are we using over the course of a month for a building that's empty? Oh,
That's
I'm
very
sorry.
high.
This is electricity and gas. My apologies. Okay, National Grid. Say that again.
I think that was just feedback.
Okay, so National Grid is $115. The HOA fee is $1,074, and then another 3-month builder's risk insurance at $2,429.86. Total, therefore, due is $3,861.86. And then finally, the minutes invoice, and I'm sorry, I am looking for that one and I don't see it.
I believe I had.
No,
a
no, I don't see it because I've lost it. I've lost track of it. Here it is. Here we go. The minutes invoice, Christina Martin Barrowford, $300 for $100 per meeting for each of 3 meetings, March 13, March 27, April 10. Any questions on any of those? Do I have a motion to approve them all?
I would make a motion to approve. Paying the
Thank you,
bill.
Paul.
Second.
And I
Second.
Motion and a second. Okay, once again, roll call vote. Rob Jeffers,
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Rob Henry,
Rob Henry, aye.
and Steve Gomer, aye. So the motion passes. These are approved for payment. And again, bear with me because I'm clicking too many things at the same time. Okay, that's the minutes invoice. We have minutes from April 10. Is everybody is everybody okay with the minutes as written, as presented? If so, once again, motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, second.
Second.
A motion and a second. No further discussion. All right, moving along. Paul Grady,
Paul Grady, aye.
Cindy Matheson,
Cindy Matheson, aye.
Rob Henry.
Rob Henry, aye.
All right, Rob Jeffers. Rob Jeffers.
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Rob. And Steve Gomer, aye. Okay, minutes pass. Next meeting date is scheduled for June 12. I don't have any topics unanticipated 48 hours prior to this meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless the rest of you just want to visit for a bit.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Paul doesn't want to.
Seconded.
Neither does Rob. All right, thank you both. Start again. Rob Henry, aye.
Rob Henry, aye.
Thank you, Rob Henry, aye. Rob Jeffers.
Rob Jeffers, aye.
Paul Grady.
Paul Grady, aye.
Cindy Matheson.
Cindy Matheson, aye.
And Steve Gomer, aye. And thank you, Karis North, although I think she may have already left. And thank you, Cassandra. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks again.
Have a great day, everybody.
You too. Bye-bye.